Hi everyone, I am Rosni. Today I will be representing you our paper, Declarative User Item Profiling Based Context-Aware Recommendation. Why declarative? We might aware that when someone make a decision about something, there are actually many aspects and consideration behind that decision. Fortunately, these considerations are actually declared by the user in terms of user review text that accompany the rating, but often overlooked by the other recommendation. So here in this research, we are going to capture this profile given the declaration from the user themselves. There are two main motivations that drive this research. First, let us imagine us choosing something like clothes. We might choose the clothes because we love the colors, the brand, while the other user choose it because of the ongoing sale or discount, or even the combination of all these aspects. So we can see that each user might have their own consideration. It might be different from one to another. On the other hand, an item can also be reviewed by many users. So if we are able to get what is the priority for a user when choosing something or when making a decision, and on the other hand, how the items was described by other user or all the users, we can capture both the item profile and the user profile. Like here, we can say that an item is made of cotton, and then the style is formal, and how is the durability, whether it is dry cleaning, fire resistant, water resistant, and other things. The other motivation is there is a huge amount of items that are available over online sites. Take Amazon as an example. There are 353 millions of products that are available on Amazon. How about the digital buyers? Yeah, in 2021, it is predicted that there will be 2.14 billion of users that will buy something online. So given these huge amounts of items and that users have their own consideration while choosing something, now it is impossible or take times and efforts for user to choose the right items based on his consideration, or we call it as context. So that's why we are proposing what we call as declarative user and item profiling context-aware recommender system. So we capture the user profile declaratively and then put it into our recommendation to get more relevant list of recommendation given user and item context. Let's take a look each one of the components. So first, we capture user and item review. So for example, here in the left of the screen, it said that one user said, amazing quality for cheap price, was beyond happy with my dress and wore to my school formal. Given this information, we want to learn the user profile. We use our topic modeling, what we call as user window non-negative metric factorization. And then we define that each user has three components that describe their profile. They are user context, user content, and item content. So given this review, we know that user dominant context or priority context are dress, quality, the price, whether it is cheap or not, and then that the address gender as the context of the user, and whether it is discount, delivery, and COD. While we didn't stop there, we also want to identify the item profile. Here, for item profile, we capture the item context given all reviews for this item. So we might get that it's cheap, school, uniform, water resistant, and windbreaker are the terms that used by the users to describe this item. This is what we call as dominant context. By the way, this topic modeling was proposed in our previous work in 2018, as shown here. After having this user profile and item profile, now we bring them to our recommendation by considering that there are challenges here. The first one is there is a huge amount of item and there is a huge amount of, so it is impossible for us to evaluate all the items prior to recommend something to the users. So in order to tackle this problem, we propose to group the user and item based on the similarity of their profile. So we got group of user, PU, and group of items. We can actually use any kind of clustering to get these groups, but in this research, we use k-means. After having this information, group of similar user and items, we learn the consumption pattern by incorporating the information about user group, ZPU, and incorporated them to user latent vector, and then we take the information, the parameter about the group of similar items and incorporate them to item latent vector. So here when we combine the profile of user and items to user latent vector and item latent vector, we brought this consideration the dominant context of users when they consume something. Having this information in our recommendation modeling, we then give the list of recommended items to user based on the relevancy between user profile and the item profile. We evaluate this approach using two publicly available datasets. They are Yelp and TripAdvisor. Both of these datasets have user review text that we use to identify the user and item profile. And then we evaluate them using three matrices, MSE, RMSE, and then MAE. First, we need to define the right parameter to do the experiment, and then we check based on the item parameter, the similarity of items. We found that 0.00005 as the best parameter here because it gives lowest error and then more stable and better performance. So for the rest of the experiments, we use this PI. We also compare them with many baselines here. Two group of parameters here. The first one is the traditional recommender system, SVD times SVD item KNN, and then contextual recommender system EFM, DCARS, and our proposal DECPRO CARS. As we can see here, DECPRO CARS gave us the lowest error. It means it is better in doing the rating prediction. So to conclude that DECPRO cars outperform other baselines due to the personalized user and item dominant context. We didn't stop there. We also evaluate the effectiveness of incorporating both user and item profile compared to another approach that we proposed in 2018 that only incorporate user profile. So we check for the highly recommended items to start here and the unfavorably or the least recommended items. As we can see that in the Procar's recommendation for the highly recommended items, there are time, burger, food, place, and price, or 5 terms that are similar with user profile. While on the other hand, the item 0879, it only has one similarity between the item profile and the user profile. That's why it is not really recommended in this recommendation. That's why we call it unfavorably recommended items. While decars that only incorporate user profile, it recommends an item to 1774 as a highly recommended one, but it has only two common terms between the item and the user. While for the least recommended items, it even has more common terms like food order and place, three common terms. It does make sense because decars only consider user profile, while our newest approach incorporate both user and item profile into the recommendation. So to conclude, in this research, we propose a declarative user and item profiling for context personalization based on review text, and then we propose two-phase recommendation algorithm by recalling that there is a huge amount of items, so it is not possible to evaluate all the items. So we make a group of users and a group of items and define the candidate items based on the similarity of the users, target users with the other rest of the members of the cluster. And then based on that, we make item recommendation based on the relevancy of user context with item context. We demonstrate that the effectiveness of our approach through extensive experiments and comparison with the existing methods. These are the references that we consult during this research. So that's the end of my talk. Please kindly refer to our research paper for more technical contribution. Thank you for listening.